you. That was some good stuff.
That's what I'm here for. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Casey.
The theme today is living. No, I was gonna say it, and I'm gonna cheat and look on my thing. I repeated it over and over in my head, and then now I'm standing here like Red Lynn, and I'm like, I don't know. So what it is, the theme is passionately living your purpose out loud. And I looked at the Global Themes material. As many of you know, I'm on the Global Themes team. Rev Lynn is on the Global Themes team. And I was on the Global Themes team for this year. And so next month is Love Out Loud, which is the month that I wrote, which I'm super excited about. I've never written an entire month of content for anything before. And as I was looking at Reverend Lisa Carson's material for what she said about living your passion out loud, I felt like what I needed to do is live my passion out loud. And Lisa Carson has no idea what my passion is. She can't write about what my passion, living that out loud, looks like for me. So because these slides weren't even a thing anyway, I was like, I'm not even going to worry about this. Especially because last week I was in Colorado. This is why I'm speaking today. Usually I'm here on the second Sunday of every month. And I was in Chicago the last week of July, came back, and then I was in California and North Carolina, and then Colorado. So I'm back. I'm not going anywhere for a little bit. I'm going to be here on the second Sunday from this point forward. But these last weeks of travel is living my passion out loud. One way is because I am so grateful for the fact that I'm currently, a lot of my work is remote right now. So I can just take my laptop and work from any city that I'm in. So that's what allowed me to go to Chicago, California, North Carolina, and Colorado over the course of a single month. Some of it was flights, some of it was drives. It was a whole lot going on. And I was there for various reasons. The first trip to Chicago, I was there visiting family. And while I was there with my family, we discovered that my 27-year-old cousin was killed while I was there. He wasn't in Chicago, he was in North Carolina at the time, and I was with his sister in that moment when she received that news. And I am confident that it is no accident that we were all together in that moment, that we were able to literally hug her, hold her tight, and be we were all together in that moment. It could have happened at any given time, and it just happened to be when me and my cousins were together in an Airbnb and really got to just hold each other in love and support. And so what that meant was there was going to be a funeral, and that was going to be in North Carolina. So the following week, I was speaking at the SOAR conference at Asilomar, and it was my first Centers for Spiritual Living conference where I've ever been on a stage before. I was invited to speak in the 2020 SOAR conference, and we all know what happened in 2020, so that conference didn't happen. And I was grateful to be invited to speak at Asilomar. I've never been to Asilomar before, and when I first started in the Centers for Spiritual Living, I heard all of these amazing things about it. Everybody had talked about how their life had changed because of this experience. And I was in Chicago at the time that I heard about that, and then I moved to LA, and just the conversations about Asilomar just kept growing. So it was definitely a bucket list for me, and to have an opportunity to go there and speak on the stage, and it went incredibly well. And pretty much the next day after that talk, I got on a plane, not even pretty much, literally the next day after that talk, I got on a plane and went to North Carolina on Saturday. And on Sunday, that morning, somebody I knew from Chicago had moved to North Carolina, so she picked me up and took me to her center, and I got to hear about Percolating with Passion that second week from that center in Raleigh. And my cousin picked me up from my hotel and said, "Hey, we don't have a minister for the funeral tomorrow. Will you do it?" I had had never officiated a funeral of any kind, and so to do it with 1 day's notice from my cousin I was incredibly grateful that my family trusted me to do something like this. That side of the family is predominantly Christian. I've got a Christian family and a Jewish family, and that's what inspired me to come to the Centers of Spiritual Living. I wanted to meet them in the middle. I wanted to be somebody who prays well with others, even though I'm not wearing that t-shirt right now. And so that went great as a funeral can go. But I feel really good about was my family. Literally everybody in my family said that was incredible, and that's the best response you can ever get from doing something for the first time. So spoke at a Sillamar, then officiated a funeral that I didn't know I was doing, giving a eulogy that I hadn't written or hadn't planned, and just trusted Spirit to guide my vision. So as Rev Lynn asked us to say out loud, I am an enterprise for God. And that experience, my entire experience of ministry, has been a demonstration of being an enterprise for God. So when she said that, I said, what does that mean? And I was like, I don't know. So I Googled the word enterprise just to get some clarity for myself. And enterprise, according to dictionary.com, is a project undertaken or to be undertaken, especially one that is important or difficult, that requires boldness or energy. And so I was like, okay, I get what that means. I understand, because I think of enterprise as being a business for God. I was like, no, that's not it. What it is the work, our purpose requires boldness and energy. It requires something like saying yes to officiating something I have never officiated before with a single day's notice. It's showing up with boldness and energy and faith. So this concept of living your passion with purpose requires an intense experience of faith. Basically that's what our hero's journey is all about. And I wore this faith until you make it shirt because to me, that is the process of embracing your passion and moving forward with it regardless of the challenges, regardless of the energy and boldness that it requires to serve as an enterprise for God. And so this week in particular, because it's a theme and I'm speaking, I got an opportunity to really witness my own relationship to how my investment in my passion plays out and manifests itself over time. So I've mentioned to some of y'all before that I've had a goal since I was 11 years old to be a TV producer. That was what it was. At 11, I didn't know how the business of television worked, and nobody around me knew how the business of television worked in Chicago. I asked my parents, what do all these people do at the end of the credits? I asked them that. My mother loves watching the credits at the end of a movie, but has no idea what any of those jobs are. And at that time, when I was 11, the internet was a baby. It existed, but there wasn't a whole lot of information on it. Google did not exist when I was 11 years old. We had I remember Netscape Navigator was the browser, and I don't remember just being able to search a word and get information when I was 11. That came later as the internet grew up, and so I didn't have this information, but I knew Norman Lear was the TV producer and I had never seen a Norman Lear television show, but I read about it by doing a history fair project. And knowing that this man produced all of this television content that spoke about social issues of the day throughout just a diverse slate of television shows like All in the Family, Maude, Sanford and Son, Good Times. These were all shows that I'd heard of, that I knew were hits. I'd maybe seen a couple of episodes, but it inspired me to really dive in. And even though I didn't know anything about social issues from the 70s, just knowing that this content existed inspired me to do that same thing. And so here I am at 42 years old now. I'm grateful for the fact that I had some time to work as a TV producer. But the experience of navigating the television industry really made it clear to me as I learned about what the jobs were and how they worked. Television writer was the thing I wanted to do, but I didn't have faith in. That when I was around the time I was 18 and started to learn about writers and how it works and what the differences were, at that time, at 18, writers' rooms were predominantly made up of white men. And so I thought, well, I'm the furthest thing from a white man, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work behind the scenes. I'm going to do what I can to change the industry, to make it more accessible for people like me. And thankfully, the industry changed all by itself. It didn't need me to come in and save anything. It is a far more diverse place. Writers' rooms are way more diverse today than they were when I was 18, and made this decision that I could never be a TV writer. And how that got really clear for me was when I was working as a TV executive at GB Productions. I would sit and meet with writers all day, every day. We met with writers who were, because when it came to getting a show on the air, you need to know what writers you want in the room. So we met with writers all the time, and we were constantly working on new projects. There were writers who had ideas, and we would say, yes, that's a great idea. We're going to work with you, and we're going to try and get that show, your idea, to make it to television. So that was my job as a TV executive. And every day I would meet with writers, and because I worked at Viola Davis's production company, the vast majority of writers that I worked with were people of marginalized perspectives. That was what the purpose of this production company was doing, was producing content told from marginalized perspectives. So it makes sense. The writers I meet with are people of the global majority. I just learned that recently. Let me tell y'all real quick. People of the global majority is another word for people of color. When you think about it, I don't like saying these people have color and these people don't. That doesn't make sense to me. And Asian people, African people, Latinx people, they make up the global majority. So let's just call that what it is. So if you ever hear me say people of the global majority, that is who I'm talking about. So those were the people that we were meeting with, and LGBT folks. So I got an opportunity to see people working, getting staffed, coming up with TV show concepts and making it to air that were not white men, over and over and over again. And not only did I see people of the global majority and LGBT people, but there were multiple mixed race queer people like me, born as female, succeeding as TV writers. So I would go into work every day and see people succeeding in this industry as writers, and I could not deny my own passion of wanting to be a TV writer. And for me, what it took, because I loved my job, working with Viola so much. Viola is literally one of the most inspiring people to ever work with. Loved this job so much, no part of me was trying to leave. And the events of 2020 just really demonstrated for me that it was important for me to use my voice, that I couldn't hide anymore behind the scenes. I needed to come out and do my thing. And that experience of embracing who I am authentically was a whole journey. It's the journey that brought me to Oklahoma. And as I've said from here before, nobody thinks if you're trying to make it as a TV writer, move to Oklahoma. That's the way to do it. So that certainly wasn't in my mind, but literally everybody that I spoke to in Hollywood in that moment was like, yes, Oklahoma is the right place for you right now. You go, you do that. And so I got represented. Right before I left, I had a manager, and right before I left, I had a choice of two people, and I knew this, that one person that reached out to me and said, hey, I just started in this management company, I'd love to talk to you, and somebody else that I just was close with, knew her very well, and knew the people that she worked with very well. I didn't know anybody that this guy was working with. I'd met him twice, maybe. So I went with the person who I knew and loved and trusted, and then that person, my manager, ended up getting a job at an agency, which is an incredible agency. So now I have an agent, but I don't have a manager. And as many of you may know right now, there is a writer's strike going on. So I have my agent was on maternity leave. She should be back by now, but then there was a strike right after that. So I just kind of left things alone. But I don't have a manager. And Spirit just told me one day, call this guy, that other guy who said he wanted to represent you. Just call him and see what he's, what he's got to say. I don't even know if it makes sense for me to have a manager. I've never been staffed on a television show ever. But let me just reach out to this person and see what he has to say. So reached out. He turns out the management company he is working for has a production company in Oklahoma. And so he's like, hey, do you have any ideas for Oklahoma? And I was like, yeah, I do. So I wrote something real quick, sent it to him, and he was like, wow, you wrote this in 2 weeks? This is incredible. But he's like, you know what? That other script, the first script of yours that I ever wrote, I think that script could be a TV show. Can we talk about that? Like, I want to read it again. Like, let's talk about it. So I was like, yeah, whatever. You read what you want to read. We'll talk. So I met with him Friday. On Friday, our meeting was supposed to be on Monday, but I was in Colorado. I was like, I can't do all this. So set my meeting for when I got back on Friday. And on Friday, he said, hey, there's this director. The directors are not on strike. There's this director who I think would really resonate with this script. Can I send this to her and see what she says? So, yeah, of course, whatever. So he sends the script Saturday, he forwards me an email from this director with this whole thing about how much he loves and connects with it and is like, yes, I want to be involved in this. I've worked as an executive. I've never seen anyone respond to material in the way that this director responds. And she wasn't talking to me. She sent it to him, and then he sent it to me, which I appreciate. So I just got this experience of a script that I wrote in 2019 as okay, well, let's go. Let's figure this out. He was like, what they call a document that has the information about a television show is a Bible. And my script is called Spiritual AF. I'm not going to tell you what that stands for. Feel free to look it up on your own. So this script is called Spiritual AF, and my job is to write a Bible for it. And this week, this was yesterday, I got this email literally yesterday. So as I'm sitting with all of this realization that I am passionately living my purpose, I'm doing what I can, that having an opportunity to write a story Bible for this series gives me an opportunity to do what I dreamed about at 11 years old, to imagine this series that makes a statement about the world that we are living in right now, which is funny because I wrote it in 2019, and know that this just gives an opportunity for me to demonstrate what it is that I came here to do. So regardless of whether this series ever makes it to air, I understand the creative process of me writing a show Bible for this series is the right and perfect thing for me, and it gives me the practice, it helps me build the relationships, it gets me into the television industry even though I'm in Oklahoma, and moving in the direction of experiencing my passion. So that's the one piece. There's a TV writing piece, and then there's the ministry piece. And I've constantly been at battle with how do I do both? And the reality is I've been doing both all along. Neither one of them have paid me any significant amount of money. I cannot pay a $2,000 electric bill. I would like to be able to do that. And this whole concept of faith it till you make it is an understanding that I started with this dream at 11. I'm 42 and I may be closer than I was before, but I may, and I've said this before, I may very well leave this earth without ever having achieved any of it. But the reality is that I feel good about who I am when I wake up in the morning. I choose to operate from integrity. I live my life out loud. I live my passions and my purpose out loud. And I do the best that I can to choose faith every step of the way, regardless of the challenges that are put in front of me. And what's beautiful about being a part of a spiritual community is that we're doing that same thing together. All of us have a passion within ourselves that is, we may have been working on our entire lives, but never profited from it at all, but just enjoy the experience of life. We're having a drag show on September 30th, and James is an active performer in our drag show. James has been performing drag for decades. But it's not necessarily like their bread and butter. I'm sure James isn't like, living large because of their drag performances. Like it's a passion. And so many of us live from our passions, regardless of the fact that it's not the thing that pays our bills. So right now, I am actively taking some. I've been doing this for a long time. I think making some concerted efforts to have my passions be the thing that pays my bills. And at Asilomar went so very well that it really sparked this feeling that it's time for me to apply for senior minister positions. I have been a licensed minister for 7 years, so it would make sense that 7 years in, I'm like, okay, now I'm ready. And I get why I was avoiding it. Like, this experience that Rev Lynn is in right now of shepherding the community, identifying a new place, guaranteeing that we will not miss a Sunday, and faithing it till we make it, of knowing that $2,000 for that electric bill is coming easily and effortlessly. That did not seem like fun to me. So I was really avoiding it for some time. And what I've come to understand is how important it is that we are creating space and community for that to occur, for us to serve as examples of what it is to faith it till we make it as spiritual leaders, to inspire everyone in the community to do the same in their own individual lives. That whatever challenge, barrier that feels insurmountable, that we have no idea of how we're going to get over it, is in front of us. That we choose faith every single time. That we believe that there is a force for good, that everything is unfolding for our highest and best, that every challenge is designed to inspire something, to teach us a lesson, to help us move to our greater experience of expression, to connect us with the divine. That what the divine is this force that allows us to achieve the impossible. That regardless of the fact that this series that I'm working on may never make it to air, all of the odds are stacked against it. I have never been stacked in a room before. This director that is interested is somebody who's been working as a director, but like she's not like a huge name. So, and my manager, again, not a huge name. So, but we're taking steps. We'll see what happens. But we can put together the best package with the best writers and all kinds of actors who say this show would be phenomenal, and not sell it. That's a very real reality. While I was at Judy, I worked on a show with Laverne Cox from Orange is the New Black. And originally, it started as a script. It was a script that was set in Chicago and was about a black and a Jewish family. So I was like, hey, let's do this. I like this. Let's do it. And we brought the writers in. It was like the very first project. I was an assistant at the time. It was the first project I had ever really seen from beginning to end with the company. And met with the writers, and the Laverne Cox character was not originally written as a black woman, but it was based on a true story. So, the fact that it was a true story, is a really compelling drama. Literally everybody who read the script loved it. That's why Laverne came on board, because it was such a good script, and shopped it everywhere. And, writers had a bunch of credits. Script was really good. Laverne Cox was getting offers left and right, with somebody that people knew, and nobody bought it. That just is what it is. Nobody bought it. So life is going to do what it does. Spirit is going to do what it does. Obviously, regardless of how good I think that show would have been, it wasn't meant to be in that iteration, in that moment, at that time, or ever at all. It just gets to be, an experience that I have. Laverne Cox knows my name now because of it. So, maybe it's about connections. Maybe it's about, it's not for me to know what it's for, but it's an understanding that Spirit is putting us in the right moments, in the right time, that we are learning all of the perfect lessons, and that practicing faith, regardless of how challenging it may be, is what brings us over the edge. It's what allows us to experience our passions in ways that we never would have before, and to live that out loud, to inspire other people around us, because that is the reason that we don't pursue our passions. They're not easy. You don't just have it, and then it manifests easily and effortlessly, and then you live that passion easily and effortlessly. That's not how it works. If you manifest it quickly, there are all kinds of barriers and challenges that make it difficult to stay in that position or to grow in that area. And we have to choose faith over and over again. No matter what situation that we're in, choosing faith over and over again allows us not only to feel good, knowing that we've done everything we can. I know I don't know how to do this. I'm going to put this in God's hands and let Spirit decide how this $2,000 electric bill is going to be paid. I'm going to live out loud. I'm going to speak the truth of what's going on, and I'm going to trust Spirit to guide this journey and know the highest and best for this community. That's what we get to do over and over again. I don't know what's going on individually in your lives right now, but I do know that we are all born with a passion, and living it out loud not only feels good, but it inspires others to do the same. That as we choose faith to get us through the hard parts, we get to demonstrate to others that faith is an option. And one of the things, I love many things about being part of the Centers for Spiritual Living, but one of the things that I love is that we don't decide for you what it is that you're having faith in. Revlin mentioned Spirit Uncensored. Spirit Uncensored is hosting Spirit Spirits today at Alibis, and we are co-hosting the From Whence We Came class this year. And Spirit Uncensored started in 2018. I didn't have an intention to build a ministry. What I had in my mind is I was hosting a monthly event, and there were a number of different reasons that made me decide to host this monthly event, but made this decision and immediately had a spiritual community. I was trying to have an event, and in reality I had a community. It started with the person who I started Spirit Uncensored with, founded Spirit Uncensored with, owns a spa, still owns a spa. It's called Happy and Relaxed in Burbank, California, and Burbank was in the same place as my office at Juvie, so it was very convenient to be able to plan to go down the street. He lived in Burbank, all of it was very convenient. And so we planned for the very first Spirit Uncensored event. Didn't even, in my mind, it could have even been a book club. I didn't even know, I didn't have a name for Spirit Uncensored when it started. I just knew we were going to do something once a month in this room starting in September of 2018. And Spirit had other plans. So, I went to the Next Gen Retreat. Next Gen Retreat is coming up. Shout out to that. Went to this Next Gen Retreat where I got the inspiration for the name Spirit Uncensored. And just walking through the streets of LA, grocery shopping, doing things that you do, I would run into people and they would say, hey, what's this Spirit Uncensored thing? What's this thing that you're doing? Where can I find more information? Where's it going to be? And I was like, there are a lot of people asking me about this as I'm walking out in the world. I wonder if this room we have in the spa is going to be big enough. And so I was like, I talked to some people and I was like, all right, I'm going to call this Spiritual Center. And they had a sanctuary very much like this in Burbank. And I said, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I have no idea who's going to show up, what it's going to look like, but I'm concerned the room that I have may not be big enough for what we're doing. Can I try your space out one time just to see what happens? And he was like, yeah, he gave it to me for like $100 for that one time, and we'll have a conversation about it after the fact. And that day, 65 people showed up. There was a full band that I didn't hire, a sound technician, and teenage boys who said, hey, can we represent Spirit Uncensored at teen camp? And I was like, wait, like, I was just trying to do this one monthly event. Like, what am I doing with all this? David, the guy, Reverend David, who I co-founded this with, was like, I did not sign up for this. And just kind of like shrinked away in the shadows. And I was like, well, all right. Like, I said I was going to do this monthly. He was like, maybe we should do it quarterly. Like, this was just way too big immediately. And so I was like, all right, like, I will step up and I will be senior minister of this organization and see what happens. And here we are, like, expressing church in a way that I never imagined. Church in a bar. People was like, church in a bar? But, like, it is an understanding that I am God's enterprise. Wherever God leads me to, I follow. And regardless of the fact that sometimes those things don't come with money, what happens is that I am always supported, and I feel good about the life that I'm living. So I said all of that to say that in the process of even like knowing what is Spirit Uncensored, because people are like, what is this? What do you believe? We weren't officially a Science or Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of My Community. We are in the process of affiliating, but at that time we weren't. I wasn't even a Centers for Spiritual Living minister at that time, so like wasn't even an option. And so there was this question of, what do you believe? Who are you? Because spiritual centers, generally, we are joyfully expressing spirit. You know, we've got our things. And Spirit Uncensored didn't have that. So I came up with this feeling, Spirit, of course, brought it to me, that we are a spiritual playground highlighting the power of choice, faith, and gratitude. And what I love about that is that I'm not telling anybody else what choices to make, just recognizing there is power in that. The power of gratitude. So knowing that, you know, whatever, when you put that energy of gratitude into your life, that it sprouts beautiful experiences. And recognizing the power of faith is knowing that I'm not telling anybody what to have faith in, who to have faith in. That is for anyone else. Everybody has their own ideas of what spirit is. But that's the part of it. Choice, faith, gratitude is what I got out of participating in Centers for Spiritual Living Sunday services. Those were the things that I felt like I heard every week, was that my choices have power, that faith moves mountains, and that gratitude allows me to enjoy the experience that I'm living right now. So wherever you are in your experience of your passion, I invite you to bring faith into the experience, to trust and know that all of the money, all of the resources, all of the opportunities that you need are manifesting themselves. You would never know that something that you did in 2019 would come up in 2023 and somebody saying, hey, I want to do this. You have no idea what you've done all along, that seeds that you planted as a child are manifesting themselves in ways that you could have never imagined in your modern day. I don't care how old you are. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your family was like. Faith has the power to move mountains. And so I would love to bring this feeling into prayer right now. Grateful that Joan is coming up to help create the mood. David, would you bring the lights down a little bit to help us go within and consciously connect with our own understanding of spirit. Grateful for the fact that we currently have comfortable seats to settle into. So if you feel comfortable, close your eyes, or I like to pray with my eyes open. You do you. As we settle into this moment, bringing conscious attention and awareness to our own understanding of who and what God is, I am grateful to trust and know that all is unfolding perfectly. That each one of us experiencing this message here and now is here by divine appointment. We are meant to know that we are being invited to live our passion and purpose out loud. that faith is always available to guide us through any challenge that we experience. And regardless of how insurmountable, regardless of how big our passion may be, that passion was put in our place for a reason. Each one of us is God's enterprise. And I'm so grateful that we have shown up to remember that, to live from this understanding and from this truth. And I'm so grateful for all that manifests within our individual lives, within our community, and beyond. Knowing that as we live our passion out loud, we inspire others to do the same. As we live from the understanding that we are God's enterprise, we inspire others to do the same. So I am so grateful for all that manifests as a result of this prayer. I'm grateful for all that manifests as a result of our decision to pursue the life of our dreams, to have faith and spirit within us, and to be grateful for the entire journey. And I'm grateful to speak this word, grateful for all that manifests as a result of this. And in gratitude, I invite us all to affirm this truth together by saying, and so it is.